Another draft physics presentation. Should be short and not very sweet. Just such an asshole, this Mr. Monk and the Stray Cats. So I go to the trouble to explain further, more, and come up with an analogy I think that's pretty airtight, basically pointing out how all this really is while you're on the train and the train's moving in the opposite direction than the target you're shooting at, you're going to Doppler shift. No matter what you're throwing, whether you're throwing birds, butterflies, doesn't matter what you're releasing, what you're doing, you're going to inevitably end up Doppler shifting it. And that's just a fact. And so I'm just pointing out that while the photon is in an atom moving in the opposite direction, while it's interacting, all of the motion is in the wrong way, Doppler shift all over the fucking place, and you change the frequency. And he's still being a belligerent asshole, claiming he somehow accounted for that when he hasn't accounted for the fact that the whole point of the movement in the opposite direction is what does that cause? Oh, that causes extra fucking distance. So anyway, I'll try another way of explaining it. What an asshole. I mean, at some point in reading this, I'm not ignoring position. I'm not ignoring position. I literally addressed it in the comment. No, you literally didn't address it in the comment. I read the fucking comment. It's not relevant. Nothing's closer to anything. The movement is in the opposite direction. Nothing gets closer to anything. Idiot. I mean, it's just idiotic. Sorry. And then he says, this is exactly addressing your point about position, not ignoring anything. Yes, it is. It's ignoring the fact that the motion is in the wrong direction. It can do nothing but lengthen the wavelength. It can't keep the wavelength the same. It can't make the wavelength smaller. It has to make it bigger. Arrival time is not the same as interaction time. Arrival time is the time we're judging based on whether there was an effect or not. So arrival time is the only time that's fucking goddamn relevant. Arrival time says you need to make the bits on the back end of the row push back. Yes, that's right, by more distance. Exactly. You're on an atom moving backwards. That's making more distance than the one in front end of the row. Yeah, duh. Looking at the effect of the hydrogen, each bit individually, you see that this is not the case. Well, of course it's the case. The photon doesn't stop the hydrogen atom from moving. It's the other way around, essentially. While the photon is in the hydrogen atom, it's moving with the hydrogen atom effectively. Oh, God. All right, so, yeah. We'll be back. Pause. Alright, so let's try illustrating it kind of the way it is, a little bit like how it is. So here's your atom, some transparent gas, usually, probably. Right now, reflections are really a problem. What do I do about that? I'll just pretend it's not there. Yeah, there. Okay. Awkward. Irritating. But I'll worry about it later. Okay, so this thing is moving this way. Alright? Now what we're saying, what the argument is the photon essentially is going to go in. And it's a series of things with a distance between them. Alright, and so what happens when they go in is essentially they're going to be trapped for a little while. So they're going to do something. They're going to just go around in circles. Alright, so if I told you they're just going to go around in circles, then you'd say, okay, I can understand that. There'll be a slight delay in when they arrive here, but they'll arrive at exactly the same frequency because you haven't changed anything here. All you've done is create a delay in the time. They've had them go around in a circle. And so you haven't changed anything. But the point is this is moving. So this trap is going this way in the opposite direction to the motion. Right? Okay. So this is the point that the next one gets released at. So the first one gets released here. Let's say the first little bit of energy. Just like here, there's the release point. Okay, but the next bit is going to be released from a different position. It's going to have to do all of this. and then be released from a position that will have is negative to the forward progress, which means that this one will continue on, and this one, okay, will have this distance added to it. That's the difference between just going around in a circle and going around in a circle in something that's moving. So when something's moving, it's like you're being trapped, but you're losing distance while you're being delayed. And that loss of distance will be reflected in the fact that now there will be a greater distance between each object. Now the frequency will still be consistent. Each object will have the same amount of extra, same extra for each one. So that distance will remain the same, but it will be a bigger distance, okay, than it was here, because you have put more distance in by possessing the photon for an amount of time. That's why I brought up the time thing, because we know that when the photon interacts with the atom, it doesn't instantaneously react. So if this was an instantaneous reaction, then you might be able to say it wouldn't matter, because each quanta is going to hit instantaneous action, boom. So there's no effect of this motion. This motion will be negated. You know, the motion of this atom is negated if you're going to say, well, it automatically flies out and it automatically right away as soon as it hits. Then it's almost the same as not being moving. But we know that it's in there for a while. That was the whole point of me bringing up the fact that photons are slowed down while they're in an atom, is because it's in there for a while, and it's doing this. It's moving away from the target for a while. Now this is a tiny distance compared to the speed of the photon and all that, but obviously redshift is a tiny amount of redshift that what each little atom is going to be creating. But the point is, it's billions of light years of crashing into atoms is the point. But it's a real effect. I can't give you. I've used enough analogies. Again, the point is you're denying Doppler shift by denying this basic principle that if you're moving away from the target, you increase the wavelength. If you deny that, you deny Doppler shift even exists. You deny that train whistles, the wavelength increases when the train's moving away from you. You're denying a fundamental fact of physics. All right. That should be enough to get a simple statement saying, oh, okay, I get what you're saying now. Some simple, sorry, I misunderstood. Some simple statement instead of this arrogant crap, it can't work. No, it does work. Fuck. Monk and the fuckheads. Alright. Till next time and such. Should do another video. I have another one ready, sort of in my head. We'll save it for later.